Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a brief little review for Btooom, episode 12. What a stellar episode this was, I have to say. Had a little bit of something for everybody. I mean, they touched on psychological aspects, had very human relationship aspects, and then just ramped up action and suspense. And I absolutely loved it. Now, as of the time of this recording, this is meant to be the final episode of the series, but with the manga steadily unfolding, I can't see how they wouldn't follow up on it and give us a season 2. Now, I can only say my fingers are definitely crossed because there's a lot of different story elements they have yet to tie up, and they really need to. But in any case, if they don't, it's open-ended the way this ends, so it's basically left to you, or if you want to follow the manga, of course, to decide how this all plays out. But essentially, going back to the beginning of this episode, we begin right where we left off. We have Sakamoto climbing that ladder of that little sort of nest that they've been hiding out at, going back to find Taira. And of course, you have that homing BIM coming in from the woods, and they know immediately this is Taira's doing. And we saw previous to this a lot of the look inside Taira's mind. I mean, his mind is broken with everything he's had to endure on this island, constantly and continually being left by Sakamoto time and time again because he's just had so much other stuff to do. And it's just really interesting how they depict this. He's seeing these ghostly visions, first of himself, of like alternate personalities arguing with himself, but that's not really working. It's not really getting across. So his mind has to come up with another way to best his own conscience where it pertains to attacking Sakamoto and Himeko, which ultimately he does. And the way this sort of wins him over is by showing him his son and wife and making him realize, you know what? I have enough chips within my grasp. If I kill them, I am off this island. I get to return home. And really, I mean, it calls into question once again for me, who sent Taira here to begin with? Was it someone he worked with or a customer like he originally assumed? Or could it have been his family? I mean, would they want him back? That kind of thing. A lot of questions that did sort of bring up in my mind. But as we see, you know, basically you have Sakamoto ducking down under the building. He grabs a pipe and plays baseball with these damn things. I was thoroughly impressed by that because he was just on top of his game. Unfortunately, he's not on top of his game enough to get one of them, and it explodes, taking out his leg. Massive wound. He's basically grounded at that point. And this is where we see Himeko stepping up. She basically shows herself to be just as big of a heroine as he is a hero. She stretches her arms wide and protects him as the next homing beacon BIM comes in, and she grabs it. She shuts it down. But at this point, we see Taira is desperate. He's going to switch up his game as much as he has to win, and he sends the next one after her. So Sakamoto, doing the best that he can as he's figured this all out, what would Taira's next target be? Himeko, naturally. He manages to get himself up on one leg and just barely gets that last BIM as it's coming in, effectively saving them both, but returning the favor for Himeko saving him just previously. And in the midst of all of this, he's also realized this was the Himeko from the game all along. He basically has this flashback that calls back to one of their misadventures in the Btooom game, that virtual reality world, where she did something very similar. She stood in front of him, protecting him, had her arms stretched wide, a very similar stance, and it all called back to him, yes, this is her. And that is such a grand revelation at this point. Now, of course, we have Taira taking off into the woods. He's still, you know, under the madness, and he's thinking that Sakamoto and Himeko are effectively going to turn on him and beat him now, and he's got to run for his life. He ends up cornered, and there's this great sweet moment where basically you have Sakamoto breaking down. He realizes to some degree he's to blame for this, even though I don't think he really should be held to blame for it because of all the mitigating circumstances that have been happening on this island. And he's basically had his attention elsewhere, and he just feels really remorseful for that. He apologizes to Taira, and Taira hears this, and it's almost like that madness is then broken. It's broken through. He reaches the real Taira once again, and we see Taira just break down, activate his last BIM pointed at himself, and it's just kaboom, and that's it. No more Taira as the Komodo dragons are swooping in on him. And wow, it was just a really emotional moment as far as I was concerned. Now, this is followed up later on that night, and you have Himeko and Sakamoto just sort of standing distanced in that little, you know, nest that they're hiding in, and Sakamoto just bawling. He's just breaking down. He really feels to blame for all of this with Taira. Taira was a good guy. He saw he was a good guy, and he wanted to be able to leave the island with him. And then you have Himeko turn around and do something astonishing, which is say, do you really want to go home? kill me. Take my chip. Take all the rest of these. You'll have the 8 you need. Leave this island. And it just blew my mind to hear her say that. It's like, girl, what are you thinking about? You know, you have to leave together, one way or the other. And this is essentially what Sakamoto fires back at her. And you see her break down. You see them embrace. And they almost have an intimate moment. But of course, he's calling back to Oda Nobutaka, this high school bully kind of jerk that he knew. And that tumultuous relationship they had, always trying to one-up each other and that kind of thing. And this guy's dogging him in his psyche. It's very much skirting the edges of the same kind of madness we saw with Tyra-san. But here he finally stands up and pushes it away. No, I'm not going to be dogged by you anymore. I'm not going to be thinking I have to be a certain way. I have to act a certain way because that's how you used to be. And it's just really awesome to see him dominating it and sending that away. And he comes to realize, looking down at Himeko, she's still terrified because of the things she's been through. And so he basically, sort of holds it back. He's like, no, this isn't the right time. It isn't the right place. We both need to get off this island. And I just thought it was a really great sort of romantic, for lack of a better term, moment in all of this turmoil and all of this strife that has been unfolding for them on this island. They embrace, and boom, that's where we basically leave off. Now, we do have some snippets that follow up on this during the end credit roll, which all has to do with, Tyrannos Japan has lost contact with the island. They have to go out to repair everything. And we get a fleeting glimpse, because we got some callbacks and flashbacks in this episode of who this guy was, of Sakamoto's father. And it seems like he has done this deliberately. He says something about, it's the only way I could help you, Sakamoto. And that is astounding. That is exactly why I want to pick up on this story in a season 2, because you have Oda Nobutaka, you have Kira, you have all of these people still on the island, and now you have the guy from Tyrannos Japan, the head guy, hat-wearing guy, and Sakamoto's father, both heading out on a chopper to see what the hell is going on. I can't wait to get a season 2. I really hope we do. If not, I'm definitely going to start following the manga and see how this story unfolds, because as far as I understand, the anime has been really closely following the manga, so it shouldn't disappoint one way or the other. And I really can only hope. My fingers are crossed we will get a season 2, but failing that, we still do have that manga. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Did it blow you away? Are you yearning for more of this story to unfold in another season or 2 or 3? And yeah, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. So that's pretty much going to be it for me on this one. I definitely hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.